Well, good morning on this chilly morning. What are we going to do today? Well, I thought we'd go ahead and get started on the red pines. Now, there's not much is written about the red pine, but if you have a good understanding of the black, it's much easier. The black has a tendency not to be forgiving if you make a mistake. The red will, and mainly it's because of the ability for back budding, and we'll talk about more of that later. It's basically the same. We cut, and then we're trying to bring this whole thing down, right? So we just cut. And these yellowing needles, there's the old ones, so it's not a problem. Just flick those off. And then, like this one here, this one is going more horizontal, this one is more going up. So what you do is take all the ones that are going up and save the one that's going horizontal, then you will avoid this wiring process. So okay, this cluster here, I want to get it as flat as I can. So I'll start cutting them back. Now, around here, we have a distinct season for pruning pines. I could cut this back severely without worrying too much, because by the time summer comes, these will grow back. And that's one of the main concerns that we've been addressing, is that it gets so hot here that the trunk will burn. That's why through the summer months, I have these needles or foliage nice and full. It's primarily to protect the trunk. But see, so I'm starting to flatten out, putting more light. That would trigger growth along in here, then we could even tighten up. With a black pine, see this area with no green? It will not reshoot. On the reds, there is a good possibility that we will get smaller growth out of here. That's called the back budding. And so if this has green here in the future, you could cut it even shorter. But for now, we just leave it like that. So getting sunlight and waiting. So we start cutting back, cutting what's up, and try to go save the thing that's more horizontal. Now, one of the things we could do is, if you want, we could pull this down and do it that way. So I'll just do light pruning, see what might happen. You know, I live in the country here, and my neighbors are starting to burn their burn pile. Well, that smoke is affecting my voice a little bit. Okay, what's the difference in the red and the black? Well, one, if you look at the trunk, well, when you first look at the trunk, there's not much difference. But if you take off the outer layer, which is like the oxidized layer, see, it does get red. So red pine has redder trunk. So if you had this one is nice and full, I'll go ahead and start pruning them out. Okay, look, see how much I've taken off. So what I did was I opened this up so that smaller shoots will come in here. Then I could really tighten it up. So this whole thing would be so much better if it was really tight and there's a different layer, and then as it goes up, this one needs apex. That's typical. But during the spring, this should bounce right back and grow. And at that point, I could start fine-tuning more. So anyway, I'm gonna say this is done for today and then move to the next tree. I think this is a little older, more of a standard informal upright. That needs pruning. Well, that's typical around here. Most everything needs pruning. So I'll go ahead and get started. So basically what I want is to have a little more flat, and actually I want it to be full too. So there's areas that have running parallel branches. Keep the one that's going down and remove the ones that's going slightly up. That's how we accomplish the shape without wiring. Oh yeah, those of you that are in bonsai want to get into Niwaki, never wire your Niwaki. You end up being a laughing stock. Well, there's evidently competition with Niwaki people and bonsai people, and they like to put each other down. I happen to do both, so it's no big deal for me. But anyway, if you get caught wiring a Niwaki, they say, aha, you. Anyway, yeah, that's some more of those useless information that I have for you. Okay, there's a lot of branches that have just kind of gotten too long and dipping down and all kind of funny things. So I'll get rid of all those. And basically, like I said, it's the same as black, except a little easier because these are more forgiving. Oh yeah, also the needles are softer too. Everything about the red is a notch better than black. But if you want to feel accomplished, then you have to master the black. In both bonsai and Niwaki, black pine is the most highly revered of the plants. And so in some circles they say you're nothing in terms of accomplishment unless you have a nice one. They're black. Actually, for me, I think red, but not many people grow red. I even heard stories, local people that said reds can't grow here. And I say, excuse me, I've been growing these things forever. Sometimes it might be hard to get the seeds, but if you have a mother plant that's been sitting around the nursery, or actually my parents' house for 60 years, you have Redisaurus. Anyway, I don't know where the story got started, but definitely reds will easily live in zone 9. Okay, I took off a few more branches, not the branches, but the sub branches off the branch, and you can see that over to my right, it's a little heavy there yet, so I think I better go take care of that. You want this thing to look kind of uniform, so what we're trying to do is tighten it up, get sunlight in there, and so we get the new needles to form closer to the trunk. Not the trunk of the tree, but the trunk of the branch. Okay, I think I call it quits about now. I think it's fairly well thinned out so that hopefully next round we'll start to work a little more detail. So this has been the red pine. That was the third one. This one here. And this one. So these are all not quite finished, getting close to it. They all have nice root flare, trunk with movement and taper. So that puts us at stage 7. Hopefully by next year I get these a little bit tighter so that we will become more of a stage 8. If you want 9, you should take one home because it requires a lot of tedious effort. So anyway, this has been the red pine, and so Hero saying goodbye. I'll see you again in another chapter.